Hey guys! In this tutorial I wanted to show you how to draw trees with soft pastels. So it's pretty simple once you get the idea of actually how to do it. I always used to struggle with drawing trees, it was like my nemesis. But now I want to show you how I go about drawing trees. So I'm using Canson Mitons paper. This is the smooth side and I'm using this light kind of beigey color, yellowish color. So it gives me sunny mood to my painting. And here are some colors that I'm going to be using. So it's mostly yellowish greens for the lights and brown, some darker blues and blues for the sky, and also some darker greens. So I'm going to be using my lights warm and my darks cool. So let's start. I have my reference in front of me and I have this big sheet, so I want to make a couple of studies of trees on this sheet. So the first tree that I want to draw, and it has a beautiful sunlight on it, and the first thing that I see is how the branches are kind of clumping together in parts. And we can sketch it out with a pencil, a pastel pencil, or we can just go and draw the shape with the pastels. So for this first one, I will go and sketch out the... Let's move it here. There you go, so you can see it. There we go. So I'm going to sketch out the tree. I want it to occupy approximately this space. I'm looking at the shape. Again, it's a tree. It's not a portrait. It doesn't have to be perfect. I have pastel here. Has to resemble a tree. It's okay if it's not the identical tree that we're drawing. So this is our tree, this is the main shape, and I'm looking at these branches. So I see there's a dark area here, a dark area under the branches here, here, and also here in between. So I'm looking at those darkest areas. Now, this is the easiest way to draw a tree, and I'm just taking a pastel. So let's see what colors I have here. So this is kind of a warmish green, and then I have this cooler, darker green. So I'm going to go in with my darks first, and I'm going to add those darks in marks on this pastel I'm using on the side, and I'm going into those dark areas. And I'm creating the silhouette of the tree. Sorry. So, and I'm looking where it's darkest, I'm adding the most pastel. Again here, I'm kind of creating these abstract strokes with my pastel. And you can see already it starts to resemble a tree. Constantly rotating my hand so that I create these different looking strokes and marks on the paper. Here it's quite dark at the bottom. Here goes this branch, it goes out, and also this area has more darkness to it. Now I'm going to take this green that is lighter and warmer, and I'm going to add this green to where my lights are, but not cover all the paper. So I want the paper to be actually the lightest color of my tree. So I'm going in places and I'm creating that silhouette of the tree. So this technique, it works well for sketches. So I'm going into this darker green and adding it where this kind of mid-tone value is. I'm going to add more dark green here. And again here, I'm adding it. So I'm kind of creating this transition from this dark green into the light of the paper. So as we will have the sky, I'm going to correct my silhouette with the sky color. So this is even lighter blue I'll take. So I can go in and create this sky around the tree. And here, in between, I can add the lights into the tree. So where the sky shines through the branches. There's quite a big gap here at the bottom. And I'm gonna go back to my darks and I'm gonna intensify those darks slightly so that we can have the shape of those branches forming. So I'm treating each clump of branches as an individual shape, looking at those shapes. Now I'm gonna go back to my blue, add that sky color here at the bottom, and then we have the grass on the horizon. And now I can add, this is a dark brown. I'm going to add that shadow to the trunk, and I'm going to add a dark green over the top because it will have a lot of green coming from the tree as the light is reflected in from the grass. And here I can add more of these branches inside as I see them. And again, I'm gonna dull them down a bit with my green. So this is one way. This is like the simplest way of actually sketching a tree. Then we can go in a bit more, have a more painterly approach, and we can add more colors to our tree. So I'm going to use the same reference, and I'm going to start with the sky this time. So I'm going to take and clean my pens first. So in this one we used very limited colors. This is a dark green just to dull down that brown. Sorry, I don't know what's wrong with my throat today. So here, first I'm gonna start by drawing the silhouette of the tree with my sky color. I'm gonna clean the pastel just so that it's clean and don't drag the greens into the sky. So I'm gonna go around the tree trunk, tree shape. And I'm going to draw out that shape of the tree already with my blue. So you can see already it creates the silhouette, and the first thing that our brain actually reads is the silhouette. So leaving space for that tree trunk. Now I'm going in and looking where those little spots of blue are. I'm just adding those. Adding blue is going to let your tree seem more light. It's going to add more air into the tree. So I'm going to add a bit of this darker blue as well, just to make this is the darker blue. You can see it well, yes. So just to make it more complicated, the color, so it looks more interesting. So I'm adding this darker blue. We can blend the sky color if you would like, just lightly. Very lightly, just blending it out. create a smoother sky color. And I'm moving always in the same direction when I'm blending this. It's going to add also this sense of movement into our tree, even though that it's a kind of a static object. So you will see now what I mean when we start adding the leaves. Now I'm looking at my darkest shapes, and again I'm going to take my dark green. I'm going to start with this mid-tone value, the one that we used here for the darks, and I'm going to start creating those marks. And if we want, we can create the marks in one direction only, and it's going to create that beautiful kind of movement. So if we move them only in one direction, and I'm overlapping with my blues here as well. So I'm creating those darkest areas. And here at the trunk, usually the sun is shining from above, so you will see the bottom part of the tree as the darkest area, and the inside also. And I'm always moving in the same direction. I just wanted to create this more kind of painterly feel to this tree. Looking at the shapes, always looking at the shapes, and overlapping with the blue. So here there's more darkness. Now I'm gonna go with this more yellowish green that I have. So it's this one here. And I also have this the grassier green as well, so we can put it in between these two. And I'm gonna go and create those leaves, the ones that I see in the light areas. So here I'm letting very few paper shine through, unlike in this tree. Again, overlapping with the blue and creating, I'm not separating the sky from the tree, I'm always overlapping. That's why we did the sky first, so that we can overlap and create that feel of the tree actually standing in front of the sky. So the sky is kind of in the background. Adding these greens also here, a bit in here. This side is going to have more light hitting it than that even. Light here. Now I'm going to use this grassier green to add more colors in our leaves, and I'm going to use it in between these two colors. So I'm using it in between the dark and the very light color, and you can see how immediately it adds a sparkle. So it's also quite warm, this color, and it adds that feel of sunshine hitting the tree. Breaking up a bit these darks with this color, and it mixes in the colors that we have already on the paper and creates that beautiful color. Because if we would have used this one on its own, this one here, it would have looked too bright green. Breaking up a bit this here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add, where's my light yellow? There we go. I have this very light yellow. I think I'm going to go just a bit brighter. So with this bright color, I'm going to add that kick to my leaves and create an even more dramatic lighting, even brighter sun. Again, so sorry, I don't know what's wrong with my throat today. And I'm adding it only at the tips of the leaves here, where the sun is hitting them the brightest. Also, some of them here are going to have it. So there we go. I'm gonna go back into my blues and I'm going to put back those little air kind of bits in between the branches, so our tree looks more airy, doesn't look as heavy as a shape, going in and creating these holes of air peeking through. Again, we can go back in and correct the shape of our tree from outside. So here I'm gonna add more of those breaks in the branches. And now to increase the dramatic lighting, I'm gonna go in with this bright blue, and I'm going to add those darks where I see the light, the sky shining through my tree. I'm going to add this blue over the top of my green, and it's going to create that illusion of depth even more. As it's a cooler color, it recedes, and it also gives us the color of the sky kind of bouncing in the branches of the tree itself. And now to pass over again with this lighter color, I'm gonna create more of these leafy strokes. And here I have the blue, lacking the blue over here in this area. Adding blue where I see that it's necessary. To blend in that very bright yellow that we put in with the rest of the tree. And again with this, with the darkest green that I have, I'm going to go over in those darkest areas. So it's always back and forth in between the different colors. When these colors mix on the paper, they create that appearance of a tree. So there we go. Now we need to do the trunk, and I'm gonna use my dark brown. As we see, almost all of the trunk in the shadow. Going to add this green over the top. And here we can add this sky color. Where I see that I don't have enough blue, just to kind of marry the tree into the background. Here we can add the grass. And on the grass, to show the sunlight hitting the tree, we can add this cooler shadow. I'm going to use this, the same blue that we used on the tree. And then I'm going to add the brown over the top of it, just slightly. And pass over with my green just to marry it into the grass. There we go. So it creates that shadow of the tree, and it's cooler, and it has the same colors that we have in the tree as well. So the grass is kind of merges together. It creates a picture that kind of fits it good together. And here I'm gonna add just a bit of a very pale color, just to show that this is very similar to the color of the paper. I'm just gonna put it back into the trunk just to show that there's a break in the leaves where the sunlight actually manages to shine through. And also just a bit on the grass to create a more sunshiny feeling. Now what we can do is also we can slightly pull this out in one direction to create that feel of leaves and create a bit of movement in the tree. Cleaning my hand. Dragging always from one side only. Just very lightly. Trying to keep the texture, but just to smudge it just a bit so that our tree creates this beautiful kind of feel of diagonal movement of the sunlight hitting the tree and going kind of through the tree. So this is what I wanted to achieve. And I'm gonna go back in here too much. Drag that out too much. This sticks out too much. And now what I want to do is I want to add those branches, and I'm gonna use first the dark green, and in places where I really need it I will use some browns as well. We don't need to draw every single branch. We just need to show the rhythm of the tree. And I'm going to use just a bit of that brown. And some of the blues. Just to cool it down a bit and create that stronger contrast. And here I'm going to correct the shape of this trunk by pulling down the blue color and just put some leaves over here so that the trunk doesn't stick out that much. So there we go, we have a tree that I hope looks like a tree, and it has this beautiful diagonal movement to it. I really like how this kind of looks in paintings, and I hope you found this tutorial useful. So here is a simple tree demonstration of how to actually use it in sketches if you're doing a very quick sketch in a landscape, for example, somewhere outside on the field. And here we have the tree. Just gonna add more blue here just to cover that up. That is more painterly, and that could look very beautiful in a landscape. I hope you found this useful, and if so, please do leave me a like and leave a comment if you have any other ideas of what you would like to see in soft pastels. I will be doing more videos, and also you can find more tutorials on my Patreon. And I have classes on Skillshare. So don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more videos just like this one. And I will see you soon in the next video. Bye!